Let's continue looking at the second part of this week content that I was mentioning, privacy nudges. It's a very important topic because any technology that you build, any application that you build, you're going to actually be providing it to the users. Users are going to make some choices, and how well to build the interfaces, how well to build these nudges is an important question to actually think about. All of this falls under user behavior, studying user behavior. So one way to think about actually solutions that you can build for users is actually this category. I'm sure there are other categories also that you can find, but this is one category that was proposed in 2008, 2007, which looks at first silently eliminating the threat, which is if you want to build any solution, for example, email spam, right? Just build a system which is on the server, and any email that comes, the server detects that it's a spam or not, and then sends it out. Right? So that's silently eliminating threat from the user point of view. Equally, regulation also have a regulation saying that any banks whose information gets breached, they have to do disclosure to the customers, send out an email, send out a letter saying that their details were lost or breached, right? In that case, the users are not even involved in the decision making. Users are not even involved in the process of the pipeline. Second category of solutions is what mostly that we look at as part of the nudges is this warning or user interface solutions. I'm sure you've used a lot of these solutions, which is any website that you go to and there's a pop-up saying that look, this website is insecure, do not go there. Right, so that's an interface solution. You can build a lot of these interface solutions, and let's take you want to look at the ranking of a website. You go to a website, and it actually provides you in the address bar saying, look, this is the ranking of this website, credibility of ranking of this website across all the websites that are on the internet. Right? There are many toolbars that are available for doing many things, which are all actually the interface solutions. The last one is train the users, right? I think in the last week we talked about Facebook's content that is there on their website about privacy, about educating users about how to share information, how to be more safe online, all of that. That's the train the user part. So these are three kinds of ways by which you can actually solve a problem, address a solution. Primarily in this category, we'll actually look at warning, building warning systems or user interface solutions. Just take a second and think about what all online disclosures that we do. Disclosures here meaning let's take information sharing that we do. For example, let's go over the list of that I probably may be doing. List is I share where I am at some point in time, giving a talk in this location, meeting this person here, meeting this alumni here, all of that information, right? That's my whereabouts that I'm actually giving. Probably with that, I'm also uploading my pictures. So that is also giving away my picture in these posts. I'm sure you can pause for a second and think of all the disclosures that you may be doing, not just the social media, right? You're also disclosing, let's take your preferences on liking a page on Facebook or going to a website and giving the browser history also is probably the part of disclosure itself. Do we regret about any? Have you regretted anything? So another way of asking this question is, have you ever gone to Facebook and deleted a post, right? In the memories post that it shows up, right? 5 years before on this day, this is how, this is what happened. And you look at the picture that it is showing and then you feel like, nah, this picture really looks bad. So let me just delete this post. Or this is not something, these kind of, you go look at your own profile and say that, oh, these kind of posts I want to actually delete, remove, all that. I'm sure many of us have done it. I'm sure I actually delete some posts even immediately, not necessarily after many years. Sometimes I actually delete my posts like in a short span of time, saying I don't want this post to be there, particularly in some platforms at least. Have you regretted because of doing that post? There are also regrets, right? I'm sure you've been tagged in pictures which you don't want to be tagged and which you don't want to show up on your profile. You probably want to remove that, right? Or you also disclose, let's take from the earlier disclosure that I was speaking about, you disclose the location that you were in and people that you were in at some point in time. You don't want that information later to be available for somebody else. I've had friends and students and relatives go through a lot of problems because of these regrettable moments that happens, and information gets shared on social media particularly, and then that comes back and bites people. There are many examples for regrettable actions that has happened online, but here is one example that that stands out for a lot of decision making at that point in time, I guess. So this was MI6, which is intelligence agency in UK. He was supposed to take the MI6 chief role, but he did not take it because the spouse posted some pictures on Facebook which got public, and the pictures that were posted were supposed to be not the pictures that he was people he were not supposed to be with, and that kind of got attention, and the chief job he couldn't take. It's just one extreme, meaning I'm sure you can think of relationships being broken, right? Old relationships that you have on pictures that you posted on Facebook shows up after your new relationship has started in the timeline. That can be a problem, right? Even your own friends list itself could be a problem in terms of these relationships. So the goal is to help individuals avoid the regrettable moments, regrettable disclosures that people do online. You want to help users avoid these kind of disclosures that they make. So here is some motivation for this problem of regrettable disclosures. Why you want to actually build technologies around it, right? If you're aware of Herbert Simon's work, so this is a work that got him Nobel Prize, so which is called bounded rationality. People make choices, even though sometimes you can think that people are irrational in the choices that they are making. Almost all choices that people make is actually bounded by a region, so to say. The decisions that PK would make is always bounded. Set of choices that I will make is always bounded. For example, the set of kurtas that I wear is probably always certain types, right? That's just one type of choices that I'm making, but I'm sure you can think of all other choices that we make are always from a bounded set of choices that we have. It's not like completely irrational. I make choices which are very different from what I've been making until now. Biases, heuristics. So even the heuristics is the choices that we make. Online disclosures, for example, there have been cases in the past where people have posted about some political activities. Politicians have gotten into trouble, right? That spur of a moment, you think of actually doing something, saying something online, which comes back and bite you. I've also seen people not getting jobs because of actually the post that they have done at some point in time. Somebody complained about a laptop, somebody complained about an operating system at some point in time, and when the interview was done, of course, all companies today are actually looking at profiles, right? Giving a sense of, I mean, there are even companies, I mean, this verification process has been a old set of companies, old activity. Anytime you want to get a job, they do background check, all of that. But now today companies are actually using those social services, social media posts that you do also for analyzing who you are and what you are. I'm sure some of you would have known recently, even the US Embassy in their application started asking for, I think, social media handles. In 2019 elections in India, the politicians, when they filed the affidavit for contesting the elections, had to actually fill out the social media details. Right, so the social media information is actually useful for making all these choices now. So behavioral economics is where the idea of this whole nudges and everything is coming. The small intervention to a user behavior can actually change the user behavior. I'm sure for a second, if you think about it, the nudges that we get, right? When we were a kid, we used to play, let's take with firecrackers. Somebody comes and gives you a nudge saying, look, you're going to burn your finger, you're going to burn your relatives or neighbors' home, or all that, right? Some kind of a nudge would actually help. It's been shown that it helps in making choices, changing the behavior. Actually, what is changing behavior? It's the choices that we make. So context collapses are actually also a big concern, right? I earlier talked about us having multiple accounts in the same platform. That's also because you don't want to have this context collapse, right? You want to talk to, for example, in my case, I want to talk to only the Triple ID Hyderabad students for a post that I do, or I want to send it only to my relatives, my friends from CMU, right? The contexts are very different, and context collapses happen. Context collapse, the idea is that I do a post and I was trying to do it for this particular context, but the post is actually showing up for everyone where the context collapse is happening. Right? That's the idea for context collapse. So these are the set of motivations why you want to have some kind of a nudge. I'm meaning these motivations are not necessarily for only privacy nudge, because I think all of this could be explained for any kind of nudges that you could build online. Particularly, I'm going to use it only for the privacy nudge. Right? What are nudges? I just gave you some examples of nudges. A pop-up showing that do you really want to go to the website? It's actually insecure. Your parents stopping you from doing something. There's been a lot of work on nudges. Here is a book about nudge. This professor from Stanford, B.J. Fogg, has been doing a lot of this work around persuasive technologies, how to change user behavior. See, technologies change fast, right? Technologies change extremely fast, and particularly in the last decade or 2 decades, the changes in technology has been phenomenal. But user behavior takes a little time, right? So that's where the crux of the problem is. How do you get the user behavior to do right things? I think I had also written it here. Encourages wanted behavior and inhibits unwanted behavior. You also want the behavioral change in the right direction, right? So nudges also helps you to create choice architecture, right? First I want to do this, next I want to do this, those kind of, for example, conversation that I've been having about recently on application for grad school, right? Choice architecture, right? Do you want to decide on which school do you want to go to for the application, where to apply, which professor to work with, which department to work with, right? So these are all choices again, and there is an architecture in which, and so similarly you can, I mean, even in the admissions process itself, you can think of some nudges, right? Somebody giving you an input of saying how to write an SOP, which school to apply, why should you apply to the school versus the other school. Nudges are phenomenally around all context, where the nudges help actually make choices. Let's look at some examples, not from the online world. These examples are, so if you look at this, it's actually giving you the calories for taking the steps. Small nudge, right? Saying here is a calorie that you can actually burn if you take steps. And then in this case, again, a nudge for using the restrooms, which can probably attract people to use the restrooms properly. Here is another one that is more the online world one. This is face mail from MIT. I'm sure some of you may have been in this situation, but you may have heard about the situation where people send out emails. When they wanted to only reply to a particular email, they will actually reply all, where the email ends up going to the entire mailing list than just this sender whom he or she wanted to send the email to. It's a common problem, meaning if you're part of mailing list, you will realize that you got some emails from somebody who wanted to only reply to the sender. This is a problem that they were trying to attack. They built like 3 different solutions, which is the first one is saying who all are on the mailing list. The second one, the same profile information but presented in a non-profile pictures. The third one is actually slightly interesting, where they used the number of interactions that you have with the particular person to increase the size of the profile picture, right? So which is this person interactions, the sender has more interactions with these 4 people compared to this person. How does that help? Again, all of these 3 helps in decisions that you can make. Now, when you're sending the email, look, I was going to only send it to PK, but it looks like it's showing this so many profile pictures. It means that I'm sending it to so many people. So I should actually look at where am I sending the email to. All the 3 could be used for that. The third one helps you to think about who are you sending this email? Are you sending the email to somebody whom you're interacting with more or less? So in the context of privacy nudge, let's look at 3 nudges that were built and some evaluations done around it. So we'll actually look at what are the nudges, how to do evaluation, what evaluation was done, which one worked better. The first one is called privacy nudge. Picture nudge. Everything is a privacy nudge here. Picture nudge. So this is a Facebook post, Facebook browser plugin, which actually helps to tell you, like, this is the public post. If you're going to do it on your if you were going to do that post, this is an extra information that the extension is showing you, which is these people and anyone on the internet can see your post because it's actually public. So this is the picture nudge, and it's also using the MIT face mail idea, which is to show the profile pictures of people who would actually get the post if and when you do the post. Right? That's the picture nudge. Next is timer nudge, where the same post when you're trying to do, it's actually giving you will have 10 seconds to cancel after the post was done. And your post will be published in so many seconds. Right? Many of the mail service today has this feature that when you send an email, you get like 10 seconds, a few seconds, where you can go and undo the post. Right? And in this case, it's also allowing you to give 10 seconds. And if you want to post it right now, just do the post. Their post now is. This is timer nudge. The last nudge is sentiment nudge, which is again the moment that you want to share that information. Right? Other people may perceive your post as negative, so do you really want to send it? That's where this nudge helps. Which is to provide that feedback, saying something that you're typing is probably negative. Do you still want to post it? Again, giving some examples from the past, there have been in situations where users have posted something and then gotten into trouble, even to the extent of getting arrested, getting into a lot of trouble because of the post that they did. Can you stop them from doing that? Or at least tell them that they may get into trouble if they do this post. Methodology. So what did they do with this, right? They created this nudges. What did they do with this nudge? It's a Chrome browser extension. users were asked to use this extension for a period of time, and survey was done from their post-exit survey was done from them, asking them to fill some questions, and the users were recruited through Craigslist, flyers, emails. Today you can do social media, all of that. 21 participants who completed the field study, and 13 participants participated in the interview, which is they did the study and then they also spoke to them saying, oh, how did you know that this extension was there? Did this extension help you to make these choices better? All of that. Later part of the course, we'll actually we'll take up this ethics, studying privacy as part of ethics itself, to see how to do some of these studies. How do you draw the line of what information to collect and what information not to collect? But for now, just think of it as a lab study. Somebody is using this extension, you're getting them to use the extension, keep track of what they're doing, and then when they got into the study, you collected some information. When they finished the study, you got them to do some interviews and fill the form, so that you can actually make some judgment on how the extension worked, how the nudges worked. So two categories, because I think you want to always have this control group, is to show that, look, without the extension, how people would behave. And then in the treatment, you have one nudge presented. Again, multiple interesting studies could be done, whether if you were to present them as multiple nudges. But this study actually talked about only one nudge. If I show you this particular nudge, let's take timer nudge for a period of time, does your user behavior change? So you also want to make sure that the evaluation is good, right? Again, later we'll look at user studies, evaluation, everything. But for now, evaluations are ways by which you find out, in this case, number of changes in the privacy settings. Oh, the nudge is showing, oh, let me just go change my privacy setting, or let me not do the post, number of cancelled or edited posts, right? Or let me change because the sentiment is saying negative, let me change the content in the post itself, right? Post frequency, meaning earlier in the control group, people are posting 35 posts per month, whereas in the extension or in the experimental setup, they are only posting, let's take 10. Is it because of the nudge? Topic sensitivity, right? Understanding that what topic are they posting. So that's the evaluation metric. You can think of other evaluation metrics also, but this one, these four helps in, these four is what the users actually did, the administrators for the study did to collect information. So one way to represent the data is this, which is all the participants here, and gender, age, days in the control, not just shown, posts in the control, posts in the treatment. Right? So this is days in the control. How many days were there in the control group? How many nudges did they get to see? Nudges shown is here, nudges that they saw. Posts in control, number of posts that they did in the control setting. Posts in the treatment, total number of posts that they did when they were nudges were shown. Right? So if you look at participant 1, female, 29 years, number of days in the control and days in the treatment, 11 days in the control and 12 days in the treatment, number of nudges shown within this 12 days of treatment, 4 nudges were shown to the user, number of posts the user was trying to do, 8 posts in the control time, which is in the 11 days, 18 posts in the treatment is 21. Right? So you can see how users change their behavior. And then in this one, because this is sentiment, this is also showing you positive, negative. How many posts were positive? For example, if you were to read it, this one, it says 23 posts were in positive and 10 posts were in negative. Identified when the user was trying to type, it was identified that 10 posts were negative. Right? So that helps to get a sense of the entire study, all the data. I mean, actually, all the data that they may have collected is probably in this one table. Some results that they drew, some participants just forgot about the plugin, and that's the kind of behavior you really want, because once the users are immersed in their behavior and you are able to collect data about the user behavior that you want, I think that's the best setting that you can get. Some participants remembered the plugin, so therefore what happens is, oh, the plugin is there, and then there is a chance that they're behaving because it is not a natural behavior, because they know that they're part of the study and they are actually know that the plugin is there, so the behavior kind of changes. This phenomena is very well known, which is even if there is the administrator who is supposedly doing the study, conducting the studies around, the user behavior is very different when you remove the administrator from the study physically. So here are some outcomes from each of the nudges. One participant changed from friends to friends except acquaintances when she posted survived one of the craziest, most exhausting days ever. It just shows that the user is actually controlling sending that information to a less set of people. Another participant ended up canceling a couple of posts because of the profile picture nudge. When this the face mail effect and showing that who's sending, oh, I really don't want this user to see. This is also, please keep in mind, these nudges are also designed for people, users who have these kind of content that they generate, which is for different sets of people. For example, people like me, I don't even look at any of these. I make all posts public, my profile is public, all posts are public. So therefore, it is for the people it is for the set of users who want to have the content generated for sets. For example, family, friends, CMU friends, IIIT Delhi friends, IIIT Hyderabad students, all of that. I used to do all of this like 7-8 years before, but now my choice are everything is public. Timer nudge. One participant mentioned at times annoying and at times handy, right? So definitely, I mean, you have to wait for 10 seconds in case if you want to do the post immediately, you have to go click again that post now button. Wait for timer to expire or hit post now. Make it more public when it was venting type. So it's kind of, again, user behavior change. Another participant said, made me think about the post, cancelled a few posts because of thinking, which is what the administrators of the study really want. Sentiment study. Nudge was missing the context. So this one is more nothing to do with privacy, but this is more of the general natural language processing area itself. It's extremely hard to find the positive and negative sentiment of the post. To be precise, actually, there's a lot of content that we generate, particularly even if you think about it, right? You must be generating a lot of code mix data also, not necessarily only happy to give this lecture. This could be one of the posts, or it could be like going to meet X during Diwali. मजा आएगा. Right? So now the context of, okay, so what is the sentiment that I can get out of this? So it's very hard to find the sentiment, and that's the problem that's highlighted here. Many participants cancel their post because of the nudge. Post frequency reduced for sensitive information from 13 to 7. Some technical glitches. I think I wanted to highlight these things just for you to have in mind if and when you do these kind of studies, you want to make sure that you avoid some of them. Because it was an extension at that point in time, and I was making a request to Facebook and do all of these analysis, there was a lag, and post not getting through or delayed posting, right? Because of the way that they must have set up the browser extension, it was getting delayed, it was taking some time, all of that. Exit surveys super critical is because you wanted to, if one of the important key factor for an exit survey is that you want the users to know what you did in the study. What were you trying to study, and tell them that this is the reason why we collected this information, all of that. Add time to think about what I posted and whether or not I really wanted to be represented in that way. Right? So the nudges is kind of nudging the user, saying, do you really want to do this post? Participants had a positive perception about the timers. I think this timer thing was not there in many of the email services. Let's take even a couple of years. Today I see not just mail, right? I see that in Slack. I see that in Gmail. I see that in Microsoft, right? Everywhere you can see this. Oh, don't post now, post it later, or post now, and then in few seconds you get a chance to do undo the email also. I probably have done that so many times, because you send the email to somebody which you did not intend to. Most of the times in this reply all reply, or you forget somebody to copy, you wanted to copy this email in addition to whoever is marked in the email, and you kind of send it, right? So these kind of situations help. That undo button helps you to avoid these things. What are the general takeaways from these nudges? Study, stop and think. There was a APWG also started doing this idea of stop and think before you go to a website, before you click on a link. The campaigning around stop and think is also something was going on. Content feedback, you're getting feedback from the system for the post that you're doing. Pay attention to the audience while designing these kind of solutions. Pay attention to who's the user who you're designing it for. The limitations are this was done only as a Chrome browser extension. So now if you are using, let's take Brave now, or if you're using Safari now, this would not work. And if you're on Facebook or anything, none of these nudges would work. Biases in results because of Chrome browser. The results may have been biased because of the kind of users that are there who use only Chrome. I would be curious to know how many of you use, what are the browsers that all of you use. Yeah, post it in the mailing list if there's anything other than Safari, Brave, these browsers. Post it, and then we can see if there is any interesting diversity of browsers that all of us use. This is the paper. This is the paper that I've been speaking until now, which is privacy nudges. And they actually went and did a field trial also, not just only the lab study that I just now mentioned, but actually looking at taking it to the real world and trying to see how they can actually deploy it. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but this is the paper. Feel free to take a look at it. Only one graph from that paper, again, one graph to tell many things that has happened in the study will help. This is the results. Let's go through what the graph is. So this one is a day, 23 days. This one is a participant. Three things that they're highlighting. One is the edit, cancel, and privacy settings, which is post that I was trying to do. I edited the post because not showed up. I canceled the post, and I actually went back and changed my privacy settings, or actually did something in the privacy setting. So let's take some users. This is user 26 on day 8, edited the post. On day 10, again edited the post. Right. This one, let's take, this is user 15. On user 15, on day 6, cancel the post. Right. Let's take some only red here. 22, day, participant 16, just went and changed the privacy setting. I'm sure you can go through it well. Some more interesting ones are these, which have to sort of say action. In this case, if you see days 18, participant 10 did both editing the post and canceling the post. And it looks like participant 10 was super active if you look at all the actions, right? And similarly, participant 19. So which is multiple actions done on the same day, because because of the extension, they could actually look at all the users, what all action they're doing, and that was captured, and therefore they could draw this graph. Just to show that people are actually changing their behavior, and having a control group helps to argue that, look, without the nudges, people were not doing anything, any edits, any cancellations, or any privacy setting view. So I wanted to show two examples now, which is helping these kind of privacy information nudges, all of that. This is Ghost Tree. So using anonymize, so to say, protection of your data while doing some things online, anonymize perturbation of the idea. Again, we'll spend a lot of time in details about anonymization later, but this connects to, again, this nudges that you can provide for the users to make better choices. If you just even here, that's also a nudge. Here's a more interesting nudge from Lightbeam. So this is actually showing you the details of what are the sites that you're connected to in a network graph, and then you can drill into details about which site you're giving what information, all of that. Again, context of privacy, these are privacy tools. Ghost Tree and Lightbeam helps to understand how your data is being shared, and in the context of nudges, it's also providing you information about interactions that you have. Activity for this week. This part, I think even the first part I gave you an activity. This part is find instances of regrettable disclosures. Think about it. Look for regrets that have happened, that are publicly available, news articles, post all that. If you had to think about more ways to nudge users about privacy, what and how would it be? What do I want you to submit? Submit is in the mailing list, so to say. Is instances of regrettable disclosures that you find. Meaning, like the MI example that I gave, there are other examples that you can find where these information posted online has actually come back and burnt some users. Summary for this week is the first part of the week, first part of the content that we saw identity resolution, and now we saw privacy nudges. The second part we saw is privacy nudges. These are two important and very interesting topics in privacy. So yeah, take a look at the content. If you have any questions, again, feel free to add it to the mailing list. We'll be happy to answer the questions and take it forward. Thanks again for listening to this lecture.